What's up, YouTube? I know it's been quite a long time, but I have finally had the time to sit down and actually do some in-depth Malazan reviews. So, starting off, because it's been so long, I'm going to begin with the Bonehunters, which is the sixth book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series by Steven Erikson. Now, obviously, I read this kind of a while ago. I read it last month. So my memory of this book is going to be shoddy at best, but thankfully the internet exists and I wrote notes down a while ago. So hopefully you guys can enjoy this review. I apologize that it's so late. Life has been busy. I have a child on the way, and children apparently take up a lot of your time. Who knew? Who knew? But let's just begin, right? The Bonehunters takes place pretty much immediately after the events of House of Chains, which, as you guys know, I was not huge on. And going into the Bonehunters, I had some hesitations because, frankly, I was not stoked to follow the 14th. I was not stoked to follow this group of Malazans because after House of Chains, I was just like, who cares? I want the bridge burners again. I want them again. But I didn't have the bridge burners because, well, number one, they were dead. And number two, we're doing something different here. But anyways, it opens up pretty much exactly how you'd expect. The Bone Hunters, or the 14th at this point, because they haven't earned their name, are following the last of the rebellion led by Leomin of the Flails. And he is essentially leading them to this place called Yugatin. And Yugatin, it is this place that has this legendary status among the Malazans. It's kind of this cursed city because this is where the first sword, Dasim Ultor, allegedly died. Now, you guys know I've read more of the books since the Bone Hunters. I'm not going to spoil what I know beyond the Bone Hunters and everything previously, but I'm just going to say, if you think a character is dead in Malazan, there's like a 99% chance they aren't. There's like almost 100% chance that they are not dead yet. And that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyways, they're being led to this place, Yugatin, by Leomin of the Flails, which is like this fortress city that just has like this, weird and dark history with the Malazan people, or the Malazan military specifically. And they track them down to this city. And what happens here is they do a siege on Yugatin. But turns out that Leomin of the Flails is, he's pretty smart. He has a high IQ, dare I say. Kind of a savage high IQ, but he has a high IQ. So Leomin of the Flails sets up this trap where essentially like half of the Malazan military, or several regiments within the Malazan, the 14th, get trapped in the city, and it turns into this fiery whirlwind. And I don't remember the specifics of how this happens, but I do remember that it was a trap. So some of the 14th have to fight their way out. And the only way that they can do this is with the help of our greatest friend, Bottle, who can somehow anamorph into animals or something like that. I don't know. He has some connection to animals. He can get inside their brains. He's kind of like, I don't know. He's like the world's greatest rat catcher, I guess. But he gets inside the mind of a mouse or rat or something like that. And he finds that there's these underground caverns under the city of Yugatin. There's a city under Yugatin. So the 14th, or those who are still alive, because, firestorms are dangerous and all that, they go under the city. And what essentially happens is that it's like, I feel like, I don't know if Erikson was doing this on purpose, but this kind of feels like Dante's Inferno to me, where it is the Bone Hunters essentially going through 7 different layers of some sort of hellscape. and then coming back out on the other side completely transformed. It's a pretty long chapter, the Yagasan Siege in general. I think it's like, I know it's 4 hours on Audible, so I'm gonna guess it's probably like 200 pages, roughly 100 to 200 pages, something like that. But it's harrowing, like front to back. It's really harrowing stuff, and honestly, I think it's some of Erikson's best writing up to this point. Obviously, I'm gonna do a bunch of other reviews today, so you'll see me continue to say that. But like the Bonehunters, just time and time again, is really showing off how good of a writer Erikson is. But I'm gonna stay on the Bonehunters for right now. Anyways, they come out on the other side alive eventually after much suffering, and they are fundamentally transformed. It's kind of like the bridge burners going through the desert. There's just something about Erikson using close to death scenarios for the transformative process of armies. And I don't know what exactly, if there's some sort of historical reference for something like this. As far as I know, there isn't. When the bridge burners or other military go through the desert in Malazan, to me that feels like kind of a Jesus reference, or maybe even a Moses and the Hebrew people reference as they wandered through the desert for 40 years. And I don't know if that's actually what he's going for, if it's like an actual spiritual change, or if he just really likes the imagery. I like to think that he's going for the spiritual ideas here, but I can't guarantee that's actually what he's trying to say. Anyways, they come out on the other side, and the Malazans are kind of, they have to then follow, because that's not right. Tavaret has obviously kind of realized that the people who got trapped inside the city are most likely dead. So we need to march across the desert and get out of here, because Seven Cities is basically collapsing. The whirlwind no longer exists, essentially. We've done our job, and now we get to go home. So the Bonehunters, that's what I'm going to call them now, get to follow them halfway across the desert, and when they catch up, Tavaret says to them something along the lines of, "Now you're Bonehunters in truth," which kind of goes back to the scene in House of Chains where the kid is picking up a bone, and it's supposed to symbolize that the Bonehunters will die fighting the whirlwind, which obviously doesn't happen. But yeah, it's a really powerful moment. I'm sure somebody smarter than me can probably explain the symbol, what it symbolizes, but I think, the Bonehunters up to this point in the series was the closest I got to crying, that scene specifically, because I don't know, to me that just hit. Like, I just really love when a character can just recognize how far they've come and how far maybe the people around them have come. So I really, really love that scene. Now, I'm going to temporarily take a break from what the Bonehunters are doing and go and talk about Ganos Perron, who has been kind of chilling. He's been kind of chilling, figuring out what it means to be the master of the deck. In case we don't remember, it was in Memories of Ice, if I remember correctly. I'm doing long recall now, where Ganos was essentially transformed and turned into the master of the deck of dragons, which means he is an ascendant of some sort. He's very powerful. And over the last several years, he's been trying to figure out, what that means, essentially, from the end of Memories of Ice. So when we're reintroduced to him, this is a different Ganos than we know. Ganos has always been a character I've admired, but when we're introduced to him here, man, there's just something confident about him, something different. He has been in the training arc. He's been in the this is Dragon Ball Z reference for the kids. He's been the hyperbolic time chamber, bro. He's been putting in the hours to become the master of the deck. So there's just something confident about this man, and I just really appreciate that. So he shows up, and what's going on is that there's this disease that has broken out on 7 cities. Surprise, surprise. 7 cities is hell on earth. 7 cities is a bottom 3 place I want to be in any fictional universe. I mean, like, it's terrible. Absolutely awful. Something bad's always happening there. Anyways, he shows up here in 7 cities, and there's this god of rot, or god of disease, goddess of disease, who's really just, not happy. She's made some sort of pact with the crippled god, if I remember correctly, and is using her disease to like wipe out humans to, I don't know, power him up or something. I don't really remember the specifics. I'm gonna be honest, it was too long ago. But he shows up, and there's a bunch of other stuff happening. But it's important to know that Quick Ben's sister is for some reason in this cult of this diseased goddess, and she's trapped or whatever. This plot line, I feel like, went nowhere, by the way, just for future reference. It has not been referred to back since... I'm on the crippled god, and it hasn't been referred to at all. Just want to put that out there. So I don't know how relevant this is for future plot lines. But anyways, my point is that Ganos shows up, and the Dujek One Arms host is there outside the city where this disease started or whatever. And Ganos is like, I'm just gonna go in, I'm gonna flex on this goddess because I'm him, dude. I am him. So he goes in there and he does it. I mean, he literally just does it. He throws this like piece of Odoterol on her and it kills her. And it's awesome. I mean, he just literally flexes. He does a bunch of cool stuff in this book that I don't remember specifically. There's something with the trade guild at some point. I don't remember the specifics, but it's awesome. And this is him really just flexing because he shows up, he kills this goddess who's been destroying the lives of millions of people and essentially destroying all of 7 cities. And then he just like pieces out. And he takes over One Arm's host because guess what? Dujek One Arm, dead from the disease. Surprise, surprise. Who could have saw that coming? Not me. Absolutely not. I definitely did see it coming. But anyways, he's leading the One Arm's host. And this kind of crazy thing happens. And it's relevant. It's important for me to then also talk about another thing that's going on. So I'm going to quick do that. Crocus, also known as Cutter, is hanging out with a bunch of people, including, oh man, I'm not going to remember his name, but I remember that he was the destriant of, not Treach, the pig, the war pig. Sorry, guys. My memory's shot. But anyways, Haboric, Blight Touch. There it is. He's hanging out with Haboric and a bunch of other people. They're attacked by Amos. Haboric dies. I don't remember really where that plot line goes, but they die. And then they somehow wind up on a boat, and at the same time that they're on this boat with Mappo, who I'll get to him in a second with what's going on with him. These jade giant statues fall out of the sky because the moon breaks or something like that. I'll be honest, I don't get the moon thing. I don't get the moon thing in any of these books. Why is the moon breaking? Is the moon actually another realm? Is that where the jade giants come from? I know they're connected to the crippled god. I know that. I don't know if he is their god or if he just opened the path for them. But I know that they are relevant to the plot because they keep getting referred to, but I could not tell you exactly what they are. I just know that they maybe have something to do with Odoterol. Anyways, these jade giants are falling through the sky. And it seems pretty heavily implied that it's going to destroy the world. Like, if they strike the planet, it's over for everyone. And this is such a big deal that neither side of the conflict between, the people who oppose the crippled god and the people who support the crippled god are in favor of this happening, right? Like, the crippled god wants people to be like miserable, but he doesn't necessarily want genocide. At least from my reading, he doesn't want genocide, right? He just wants to make everyone miserable and like cripple them because he's just such a little shit, I guess. I don't know. Like, anyways, they're falling, and Ganos is like, I guess I'm the only one who can deal with this. You know, I'm the only one who might be able to deal with this. So he teleports to Hood's realm, and he's like, Hood, I got a question for you, bro. Deal with that, because it'll kill everything. And Hood's like, okay, but I'm gonna make a bargain with you. I'm gonna make a bargain with you, bro. So they make a bargain. Don't know what it is. Don't know what the bargain is. I'm on the last book of the series. I have no idea what the deal between Hood and Ganos is. I have some ideas. Maybe it has stuff to do with what happens in Toll the Hounds, but I can't talk about that yet because this is the Bonehunters review. So I'll get back to that when I make my Toll the Hounds review. Anyways, they make this deal. And Tabork light hand touches, like resurrects or something like that temporarily, and somehow stops them with like a giant hand or something. I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't really get what happened in this scene. If I'm being totally honest, I mean, like, it's an awesome scene. It is super cool. But if you ask me what it meant, I couldn't tell you. And frankly, that's been like 90% of my Malazan journey so far. It has been me going, that scene was really cool, but I have no idea what any of it meant. So I'm hoping eventually when I do my reread in like 10 years, maybe I'll remake these reviews and I'll actually have something important to say to you guys besides that these books are awesome. Anyways, going back to another plotline that is relevant is Mappo. Mappo and Ikariam are, as always, chilling. Until they're not, because they're attacked somehow. And again, my memory is really shot, so I apologize. But the nameless ones, who are some sort of gods, I think, not entirely sure, basically set it up so Mappo and Ikariam are attacked. And Mappo loses Ikariam. And if you guys don't know by now, that's a big deal because Ikariam is, he's a walking thermonuclear bomb. Yeah, he is the life stealer, and that is not a good thing. In fact, we're shown very briefly in this book that Ikariam can go to toe-to-toe with, like, anyone. Like, he fights Troll at some point in this book, and they fight, and he fights Quickben, and he, like, the only thing that stops Ikariam from destroying everyone and destroying the first Throne of Shadow, or whatever it was, if I remember correctly, was this ancient woman spirit thing that I'm not entirely sure what her plot relevance is yet. I know symbolically kind of what she's going for, but I don't entirely remember what happens there. But anyways, she touches him, Ikariam passes out, but we kind of show that Ikariam and Mappo being separated, not an entirely good thing. Ikariam is the life stealer. Ikariam is destroyer dude, and he can wipe out like entire continents. So anyways, Mappo and Ikariam are separated. Ikariam shows up with this other guy. This other guy is trying to, with the help of the Nameless Ones, have Ikariam fight Rulad Sengar, which, by the way, is set up for Reaper's Gale, which I'm going to hopefully do another video on this immediately afterwards, because I also really like Reaper's Gale. But yeah, this entire book, before I get to the final section, this entire book is essentially the convergence of multiple plot lines. We get Ganos back, and we get to see what One Arms Host has been doing generally since Memories of Ice. We get the 14th back with the Malazans and what they've been doing, which is tracking down the rest of the Whirlwind and brutally murdering them, right? We get Mappo and Ikariam back. We get, if I remember correctly, Karsa Orlong's in this book. Don't remember what he does, I know that he is off to fight at the end of the book Rulad Sengar. Don't remember anything beyond that. But there's just this giant convergence of multiple plot lines at once, where we kind of see for the, I would say that maybe the second time in the series so far, what Erikson is building towards, what the end goal is, which is ultimately this convergence of powers around the crippled god, right? And that is not a spoiler, by the way. That is something you can probably figure out by reading the Bonehunters. Memories of Ice is the first part of putting the puzzle pieces together. I would argue that the Bonehunters is another piece, and then right after it, because I think they're essentially part 1 and part 2 of the same book, Reaper's Gale is the fulfillment of that other puzzle piece. And then I would say Toll the Hounds is more set up of, hey, this stuff's going on and it's important to the story. And then Dust of Dreams is kind of more of that building and bringing it all together. And now that I'm on the Crippled God, it's kind of like, hey, remember all these plot lines? Because I'm going to throw everything at you. But again, I'll get back to that when I finish the Crippled God and do my spoiler-filled thought review. I'm not done with the book yet, though, so I have no thoughts. Anyways, getting back on task, because my ADHD is severe today. The Bonehunters show back up in Quintali. A bunch of stuff happens between them leaving and them showing up. In fact, they at some point run into some Tist Edor and fight them, but they show back up at Quintali, which is the capital of the Malazan Empire. And Davray and the rest are showing up, and they're like, yeah, of course we won, dude. Of course we won in 7 cities. No big deal. But remember how I said that there was that plague in 7 cities? Well, it wiped out a bunch of crops, right? And millions of people, including workers. So the Malazan people on Quintali are kind of peeved. And in order to kind of avoid maybe getting her head cut off, Lysine, our wonderful empress, has decided to scapegoat the Crow clan and the Wiccans. Because if I understand correctly, the Wiccans own a nice piece of land that can help feed the Quintali people. If I understand correctly, that's what's going on there. And also, there are some people in Quintali that we're not happy to see, right? There's Malik Rel, who I think he's taken over the assassin guild for the Malazans. He's taken them over somehow, I think. So Lysine's kind of trapped in this corner. But anyways, Tavray, having like a 500-point IQ, already knows this. She knows that she's going into a situation where it's like, yeah, I know that this is a trap. Like, everyone in the Malazan, in the Bonehunters, knows it's a trap. But she shows up anyways, and she takes Kalam with her. And Kalam, her, and her lover, whose name I'm not going to remember, Tavray's lover, show up in the throne room, I guess. And they talk, and Lysine's like, yo, Kalam, listen, I'll let you be the head of the Assassin's Guild if you do me a huge favor and you just like let things happen, all right? Because Kalam, we know by now, Kalam is him. Kalam, I don't know how to pronounce it, but he's him, dude. He's the best assassin that's ever assassinated anybody, right? He's the GOAT. So, having said all that, he's like, I don't really want the job. Because you're a terrible person, and I like the Wiccans, and no, thank you. And then, Lysine is like, okay, well, screw you, Kalam, I don't know. Tavray, listen, I'll let you continue to be adjunct if we get to just throw the Wiccans like under the bus. And obviously Tavray, being the very honorable, cool person that she is like, nah, I'm good. I'm really good. I'm really quite all right. In fact, no, I have some Wiccans with me, and they're my homies, so no. So what happens is that Tavare, Kalam, and the other girl, whose name I am not going to remember whatsoever, have to fight their way back to their ships, and Kalam takes down like 300 assassins. Like, it's nuts. And Tavare does Tavare things, and the girl whose name I'm not going to remember at all dies. The Tavare's girlfriend, that's what we're going to call her. Tavare's girlfriend dies during the process, but Kalam gets her all the way back, kinda, to the boat. But then he dies because Pearl assassinates him with some sort of poison, but he doesn't actually die because he's dragged into the dead house by Shadow Throne, if I remember correctly. So I think he's still alive. I think, if I understand correctly, he's kind of sort of alive. The the note's still kind of out on that one. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with Kalam. He hasn't been reintroduced to the story, at least that I remember. Anyways, having said all that, yeah, that's kind of how the book ends. But this book is insane because I think front to back, The Bonehunters is probably the most fun that you're going to have reading in this series. Like, I like Hold the Hound some more. Sorry to spoil it. But Bonehunters is, like, just fun. Like, this is just front to back, like a legitimately good time. It has a ton of action. It has a bunch of characters that I personally love being reintroduced into the series. It gives the Bonehunters kind of that push that I really needed from them to be a group of characters that I care about. And, you know, it begins to show where Erikson is taking us on this crazy fantasy journey that he's doing, right? The Bonehunters is just like front to back a good time. A lot of crazy stuff happens during it. There is a lot to be said about the transformative process that the Bonehunters go under. There's a lot to be said maybe about just the nature of war and what it does to the human soul, or what, you know, being powerful does to a person, and how maybe being powerful doesn't always have to corrupt your morality if you're a good person. But yeah, there's a lot that this book examines, and I wish I remembered it better, but it's been several months, so I apologize that I don't. I read a lot of books over the last however long I read this book since, but I do remember that I really love this book, and this is the first book that I gave a 10 out of 10 to in this series. It's not the last. You'll know which one I like more. I just said it earlier. But yeah, the Bonehunters is a really good time. Like, it's a genuinely very good time. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I missed, obviously, and I apologize for that. But it's been a long time since I wrote these notes, and it's been a long time since I read this book. And I probably should have done this earlier, but like I said, I've been busy. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the review. I'll have another one for Reaper's Gale up today, hopefully. If not, it'll be up sometime this week. My goal is to upload all the way up to Dust of Dreams, a full spoiler-filled review. So I hope you guys look forward to that. It's going to be a busy week for me. But yeah. Thank you guys for watching. If I missed something, please comment, because I'm certain I did. I'm certain there's something that somebody will be like, but what did you think about this? And I'll be like, I completely forgot about that. But anyways, yeah, The Bonehunters is excellent. The Bonehunters is really, really good. And if for some reason you're hesitant about starting Reaper's Gale, do it, because it's also excellent. And I can't wait to do a review on it, because I actually remember what happened in the book.